Hey, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and give us a couple seconds, just make sure everybody pops in here and everything's working. If you can hear me, just go ahead and say something in chat. Let me know that you're there. I'm also checking here. Hey, everybody. Yep, okay. I can hear myself, so that's good. All right, cool. Hey, I got a new setup over here because Tamara's going to join me tonight. So it just made things just a little bit more fun and interesting, as you can see. A little bit more unique than normal. Hey, great to see you guys. I see Matt, I see Will, I see Peter, I see Jonathan, sorry. Hey, Jonathan, nice to see you. I see a bunch of tests in here, cool. Also in chat, I do have Eduardo Cosme here. He's part of my team down here in Puerto Rico. He is staying up late tonight working at his house for us. And he's going to be moderating the chat. So if there is anything, anyone that gets out of hand, he'll kick you out. So we all just try to play nice and be nice here. So, OK. While we're talking, Tamara's also going to be scrolling over on the right side in your comments. And so we'll be able to answer any questions you have. Will Shaw, thanks. Audio good, video good. What I'm seeing is a little blurry, but hopefully that works OK. My new setup here is just not working out so great. But yeah,
it's my fault.
It's totally her fault.
Totally
I'm using a different camera and setup because
and less lights.
Less lights. She wanted to sit down instead of stand. So just completely threw everything out the window 5 minutes before we go live. So hey, there we go. For those of you who don't know, this is Tamara. Tamara is my wife, and if you write to support, you're usually talking to either her or one of the support folks, usually Eduardo or Crystal or Joni or somebody like that. And Tamara leads up that team for all of the student support folks. Because I'm usually busy recording new courses for you and answering more technical questions and things like that. Eduardo also runs our Discord channel. So if you are interested in Discord and that's something you like to do, you can go check out diontraining.com/Discord. I look shitty, yeah. Oh, shiny. I read that wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Shiny, yes. I am shiny. I'm oily, yeah. Sorry.
We'll start makeup later.
Anyway, as I was saying, if you like Discord and you want to join the Discord community, you can also do that at diontraining.com/Discord. And Eduardo is our lead over there, and Tamara's over there as well. I'll be honest, I'm not in Discord because if I was, I would get nothing done. So those guys are usually over there. I want to say, hey, Nelson, over from Dominican Republic. You're actually not too far away.
Just right across the water.
Yeah, you're about 60 miles that way from me. I'm over in Mayaguez, Puerto Rico. And yes, Edgardo, I do film in Puerto Rico. Our company is based here in Puerto Rico. My house is actually in Mayaguez, and our company is based out of San Juan. And we have folks all around across the island, and then other people all around the world. So yeah, so as I was going to say, now that I've rambled on for a while, the idea is that, yes, we are going to be kind of brain stopped working. We're going to be kind of informal tonight. That's what I was trying to say. We don't have any script for this. It is just we're going to talk and answer your questions. So as you have questions, throw them in the chat, and we will do there. So Edgardo said the educational videos. Yes, Pentest Plus, Security Plus, all of that was filmed here in Puerto Rico.
Pentest Plus 001 was filmed in Maryland using all of our old equipment and old design. The new one is currently being filmed. He's been working on it now.
Yes. Yeah, Pentest Plus version 1 is about a 9-hour course. It's definitely ugly, but it did the job. And Pentest Plus 2 is a million times better, to be honest. It will be out pretty soon. I am working on it really hard right now, and it should be out by the end of March, early April. It will definitely be out before Pentest Plus version 1 expires on April 26th. So don't worry, it will definitely be there, I promise. Cool. We got a super chat. I've never done that before, but okay, cool. Hey, thanks, Death Punk. Yeah, so as far as Pentest Plus version 2, I am filming that right now. I've already gotten through Domain 1 and Objective 1 of Domain 2, and I'm already up to 5 hours of content, and we have a lot more to go. So that course is probably going to end up being 25, 30 hours. We're taking all of your feedback on board from Pentest version 1. When I filmed version 1, I kind of did it thinking, these are people who already or in pen testing or already working in IT and just needed a refresher before you take the exam. And that's kind of how I built that course. And the feedback I got from a lot of people was they wanted to be able to they wanted to basically start from zero, right? And so it takes a lot more work to take somebody from zero to pen testing. And so I am adding a lot more into the course, a lot of hands-on demos, all the theory, all the questions. We'll cover everything in the exam, but then even more. So Deathpunk had a question. I'm going to go ahead and jump right in there for him. And he said he's in help desk level 1 and he doesn't know what to do next. What are your recommendations? So Deathpunk, you are working in the help desk. A question I have for you is, what is your goal? Where do you want to be? Because there are a bunch of jobs in cybersecurity, if that's your goal. And again, I have to ask because I have 3 lines of training that we do in our stuff. We do cybersecurity, specifically Pen Test Plus and CAS Plus and CYSA Plus if you want to be an analyst versus an attacker. We have IT service management with all of our idle stuff, and then we have project management for all of our stuff like Project Plus, PMP, Prince2, and things like that. So pop into chat for me, let me know, and then I could talk specifically about where you go from here based on what your goal is. And Tamara's watching to answer back to that. While you do that, I'm going to go ahead and answer Taylor's question. So Taylor said, just passed Security Plus, which is awesome. Good job. It's the only certificate you have so far. What kind of jobs can you apply for with only a certificate and no IT experience? So this depends a little bit more on you as well. But I'll tell you the generic thing. The generic thing with Security Plus you're going to see is help desk roles like Deathpunk is in. You're going to see junior system administrator roles or junior cyber tech roles. And those are more, when you're talking about a cyber technician role, that's more like somebody who's going to be doing auditing, permissions, setting up all the file shares and making sure their access controls are right, setting up password solutions and things like that. Those are kind of the entry level into cybersecurity. And one of the things that you want to look at when you're doing your path is figuring out where you want to be. And so let me show one thing real quick. Let's see if this works. I might totally break everything. So let's see if I break everything. Hold on one second. Cyberseek. So there's a great website called cyberseek.org. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out. I'm going to see if I can do a quick screen share here. And that's not working the way I wanted it to. Okay. Let's, there we go. Okay. I think that worked. Maybe, maybe not. I don't even know anymore. Okay, anyway, you can see it on the screen. This is cyberseek.org. And on cyberseek.org, if you go over here to Explore Career Pathway, there is a great thing here that allows you to actually see where you are and where you want to go. So as I was saying before, especially for Deathpunk as well, you want to make sure you know where you want to be. So if you say, hey, in 5 years, I want to be a penetration tester, right? If you just hover your mouse over here, it'll show you where people come from to be a penetration tester. Normally, they come from IT auditing, incident and intrusion analyst, or incident response. They come from cybercrime, or they come from cybersecurity specialist. Now, from pen test, they'll usually move into a security analyst role, or a cybersecurity consultant role, or over into the advanced level, being a cybersecurity engineer or an architect. The other nice thing about this is it also tells you how many jobs there are for those things and what the average salary is. So, one of the things I always talk about is cybersecurity analyst versus penetration tester. Everyone likes penetration testing because it sounds sexy and cool, right? But you look at the average salary, it's $101,000, and there's only 20,000 jobs in the United States right now with open positions. If I go up here to cybersecurity analyst, on the other hand, you can see that there are about the same salary, but there's about 30% more jobs, actually 50% more jobs. There was 20,000 before, now there's 30,000. So there's more positions for a cybersecurity analyst. Notice though, to be an analyst, there are a few less options to get into it. Notice that we took away the IT auditor there on the bottom left, whereas pen tester had it. Now notice on the left side, there's this column that says feeder roles. And it says, for instance, for a penetration tester, you should know networking, software development, or system engineering. If I go over here and go to security analyst, you'll see those same 3. If I go down here to a cybersecurity consultant, these usually, they don't have any feeder roles. They usually come in from the other entry-level roles. But as you go through and click on here, for instance, a cybersecurity specialist comes from networking, systems engineering, financial and risk analysis, security intelligence, or IT support. And as you can kind of play with this, you'll be able to see that. And as you click on the different things, at the bottom, they'll actually show you as well the average salary, the total job openings, the type of skills requested, and even the certifications that are asked for. So for this job, they're looking for either SANS, or they're looking for Security Plus, like you have. They're looking for Information Systems Certification, or ITIL. And so if you want to be a cybersecurity specialist, which is kind of the entry-level job in cybersecurity, you should have your Security Plus, which you do, and you should have your ITIL. People always ask, why ITIL? And the reason for that is ITIL is what people use in is what people use in the business world. And if you're working for a large organization like the US government, like IBM or Facebook or any of those big companies, ITIL is what makes their IT systems work. And so that's why a lot of security positions want ITIL as well, so you understand the ops side as well as the security side. Now, going back to your exact question, if that's the one you have, what jobs can you apply for? If you happen to have something like a security clearance, it's going to open a lot more doors for you. If you're in an area where there's a lot of jobs right now, for instance, I was looking earlier at cyberseek.org, and the Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, Southern Maryland area has an 8.2 quotient right now, and the national average is 1. So that means there are 8 times as many jobs available based on the number of people to fill those jobs in the Washington, D.C. metro area right now. And so if you're trying to get into cybersecurity, it's a great place to be. I don't know exactly where you're located, Taylor, but that's something to keep in mind as well. Easy button is something like a help desk job, a field services job, or try to get something as one of those lower level, entry level cybersecurity administration jobs. Use that as a way to gain some experience and leverage, and then move up into something like a cybersecurity analyst or a pen tester.
Yeah, not yet.
Okay.
Okay, so this one is, I've seen somebody else ask similar, so I'll throw this one on the screen, but also, when should a student be ready for the Security Plus exam? Kind of goes hand in hand with this.
Sure. Okay. So when you're doing Security Plus, what ports do you need to know? The easiest way to answer this question is pull out your exam objectives. I don't have it memorized off the top of my head. Sorry. But if I'm actually going to pull it up here just so I can see it. I won't share it just because it's going to be hard for me to do all that while talking live. But inside of Security Plus, if you look at your exam objectives, which if you're in one of my courses, it's always in lesson 2. And if you go down, I think it is in domain 2 or domain 3. There it is. Okay. Yes, so domain 3. In domain 3, the first objective is 3.1. It says, given a scenario, implement secure protocols. And then it goes on to list all the secure protocols. DNS, DNS security, SSH, SMIME, LDAPs, SRTP, FTP, SFTP, SNMP, HTTP, IPsec, all of them, right? And so there's about 35 that are listed throughout the course material. In my Security Plus course, I do have a lesson that is literally goes through all the ports and protocols, and I believe it's 30 or 35 of them, if I remember correctly. And for each one, I kind of say, okay, this is FTP, it's port 20 and 21. For FTP, it's used to transfer files from a server to a client. When we're talking about HTTP, it's port this, and that's the level of detail you need to know. You need to know what the port is, what the name is, what the function is, and what the port number is, because those are going to come up. Now, on Security Plus, you're not going to get a lot of questions like, what is the port for FTP? But you are going to get questions that are like, you are setting up a firewall, and you want to block people from doing file transfers. Which port should you block? Or which service should you block? And then the answer would be FTP. So that's the level you need for that. As far as when do you know when you're ready for Security Plus, do you mean when to take the exam or when to take the cert?
He just keeps saying when students should be ready for Security Plus exam.
Okay, so I think you're asking when should you take the course or maybe when do you take the exam? So I'll answer both. When you should take the course is you should have at least a background in hardware, software, and networking. A lot of people try to jump right into Security Plus without doing A+ or Network Plus first. Can you do that? Yes. Have I helped a lot of students do that? Yes. But you're probably going to have to go back and touch up on some areas that you're not familiar with. For example, in Security Plus, I don't teach you how to do subnetting. Why? Because that is a Network Plus concept. It's testable on the Network Plus objectives. But some of the questions on Security Plus are going to assume that you know when I give you an address like 192.168.1.1/25 what that means. And if you don't, you need to go review CIDR notation. If you're taking my Security Plus course, one of the things I tell you in the first video is we're going to teach you everything for the exam objectives for Security Plus, but we do assume you already know Network Plus and A+. It doesn't mean you need to be certified in those. You can skip those, and you already saw earlier, we were talking with Taylor. She has Security Plus. She has none of the other certifications. That's totally fine, but she had to at some point learn what is a hard drive, what is USB, what is HDMI, what is SATA, all that stuff you learn in A+. What is subnets, what are CIDR notations, all that stuff you learn in Network Plus, and then going into Security Plus. Same thing when I see people who try to jump right into Pentest Plus or right into CISA Plus without doing Security Plus. Big mistake. You definitely need Security Plus before either of those two, because those two expand upon Security Plus and assume you already know that level. Now, when do you know you're ready to take the exam is a different question, and I say once you're passing practice exams and you're doing well on them. So if you're taking my practice exams, for instance, either on Dion Training or on Udemy, and you're scoring an 80, 85, 90%, and it's your first or second time taking my exam, you're good, you're ready to go. If you've taken the exam 20 times and now you're scoring a 90, you need to go get somebody else's exams because you're probably memorizing my answer key at that point. So you need to make sure you feel comfortable with it, that you can answer questions, and when they're worded differently, because I write my questions, CompTIA writes theirs, and so we ask the same things, but we ask them in different ways, and so you're not going to get the exact question you see on my practice exams on the real thing. So that's how you know you're ready. I'm also going to try to slow down. I feel like I'm talking really fast.
Really fast.
And people usually yell at me for that, so I'm going to try to slow down. Sorry about that.
He answered the question.
Okay, so going back to, he's in the help desk, just to review for anybody who just joined, and he's looking to get more into pen testing, but he feels like he's not technical enough, learning coding, but not seeming to stick. So yeah, if you want to get into pen testing, what would be a traditional career path from the help desk? So if you're in the help desk, you probably have help desk type certifications, right? You may have A+, Net Plus, Security Plus, something like that. As you move into something like CYSA Plus or Pentest Plus, you're going to learn a lot more about what you like and what you don't like. I will tell you, as a penetration tester, you need to be able to read code, but you don't necessarily need to write your own code. There are different levels of penetration testers, and if you're working on a penetration testing team, there's also people who specialize in certain areas. For example, last night I was filming the open source intelligence lesson for my new Pentest Plus version 2 course that's going to be coming out soon. And in that, I opened up a bunch of different tools to show you how to use them. Things like Maltego, the Harvester, ReconNG, and stuff like that. If any of that sounds Greek to you, it means you haven't looked at it yet, and that's okay. But ReconNG is a great example of a tool. It's a pretty complex tool to use, but it is an awesome tool to be able to go and find lots of different information, whether that's contacts, whether that's links, whether that's who is in the organization on LinkedIn or Twitter, and be able to grab all this open source intelligence and gather it into one place to do your analysis. That world is called open source intelligence, and that's one of the things we do in the reconnaissance phase of a penetration test. Now, I know some people, that's all they do. They are just open source intelligence ninjas. That's what they do. And their part on the team is to do all of that research and then take it together and go, hey, enumeration person, here's all the hosts I found. Here's all the people's names I found. Here's all the word lists I found. Now you go out and go find the vulnerabilities. And then they'll go find all the vulnerabilities. Then they might pass it to the exploitation person and say, okay, here's the list of all the vulnerabilities I found. I now think we need to create an exploit for this particular thing. And either they may be an open source exploit or they'll code their own. But by working as a team instead of this idea that you have to learn everything yourself, really does kind of take some of the pressure off. There's a reason we have junior testers, we have mid-level testers, we have high-level testers. And when you have a team, you may have 5 juniors, 2 mediums, and 1 senior. And so having that team built like that means that we have a lot of junior folks who are still learning and doing things like enumeration and scanning and using those tools. But then we have people who are at the advanced level who can put it all together and write those codes. So you may be that person in 5, 10 years. Don't let that worry you that you don't know programming yet. You will need to learn a little programming as far as reading programming. I used to program in 15 languages. It's been a while. If you gave me a blank screen and told me to start coding something, I would struggle pretty hard, to be quite honest. But I can open up Metasploit, and I can look at any of the modules they have written in Ruby, and I can read through it and tell you exactly what that module is doing. Right? I can look through some malware code and I can tell you what that code is doing. Could I create it myself? No. The malware writer is a lot smarter than I am because I just haven't done it enough. I don't do it that often anymore. And so that's kind of the thing. So going back to your initial question, just hit continue on that.
Okay.
So it's just an error that pops up my screen every now and then. I haven't bothered to fix it. So yeah, so if you're in the help desk, I've been busy. Yeah, I know. Okay, so anyway, if you're in the help desk, right, one of the things you want to do is you want to learn as much as you can while you're there. And different help desks operate differently, right? So you may be the guy who's just sitting there answering the phone and resetting passwords. That's one version of a help desk. There's another version of the help desk where you call, you take remote control of their computer, you're going in, you're fixing things in the registry, you're installing programs, you're setting up configurations and all that kind of stuff. If you're in that level, that means you're already building the skills of a system administrator. Your next position you're going to want to get is something in the network engineering or system administration realm. Because as a penetration tester, usually you're going to be specialized either on the network side of things or the host and programming side of things. And depending on which one you like better, you'll go into that realm. For me, I've always been more of a host person, but I can do a little bit of the network side as well. I have other friends who are geniuses on the network side, but they can't do anything. And if you give them a registry or a file that's encrypting, you'd ask them to unencrypt it, it's totally not in their ballgame. So everybody has their own skill sets when it comes to it because this field is so big and there is so much to learn. Nobody can learn all of it. So hopefully that helps. All right, Tamara, just move me on to the next question.
Otherwise, he will stay there for an hour.
Yeah, we're trying to answer as many questions as possible. I know.
Uh-huh.
Hopefully that helps, though.
Okay, so would it be worth doing a master's degree in information security or CompTIA certifications?
Or both.
Or both.
Yeah. So let me get on my soapbox for a minute on master's degrees. This is one, actually, I just filmed an episode of my Your Cyberpath podcast with my partner, Kip Boyle. And if you haven't heard of that yet, it's an awesome podcast that you all should definitely be listening to. Not just because it's mine, but because it's awesome. And I didn't even join it until the 55th episode. And we're on episode, I think we filmed 68 tonight. So really awesome show, lots of great value, especially when we're talking about cybersecurity career questions. If you want to go check that out, it's at yourcyberpath.com. That's your, Y-O-U, C-Y-B-E-R-P-A-T-H.com. Anyway, off to the digression. But that episode should be coming out in the next 2 to 4 weeks. We do an episode every 2 weeks. So, and I go into a whole soapbox on master's degree and bachelor's degree. But I'll give you the mini version right now, and Tamara's going to keep me short or smack me. So she does like to smack me. Okay, so when it comes to master's degrees, I see a lot of people make the mistake of getting a master's degree really early in their career. Now, the reason I say this is a mistake is because you can price yourself out of a lot of jobs, or you can be overqualified for the job you need, but underqualified for the job you want. And what I mean by that is, let's say my son is actually in high school right now. I just got off the phone with him a few minutes ago before jumping on here. And he is going to be finishing high school next year. And he wants to go do cybersecurity or computer programming. That's his dream job. I'm like, great, going to go to college and do it. He's going to go get a bachelor's degree. If he tells me he wants to get a master's degree right after, I'm going to tell him no. Because if he comes out after going out of high school, doing his 4 years of bachelor's degree, 2 years of a master's degree, he's now going to be 26 years old. 24 years old. Math in public is not a good thing. Yeah, so he'll be 24 years old, right? Never worked a day in his life, and he has a master's degree. Now, what that tells an employer is you don't know how to work. That's one thing. Two is you have debt, because most people, when they get a master's degree, they are going to come out of that owing $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. And so if I'm going to hire you, the job you're qualified for, even with a master's degree with no experience, is probably something in the junior analyst realm or maybe a junior system administrator, and you're probably going to be making somewhere around $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 per year. You now have a $30,000 or $40,000 master's degree you got to pay off. That's pretty hard to do on that salary, right? And so it makes it so you need a higher salary, which makes employers, when they see a master's degree, they get a little worried, just to be quite honest. So that's one thing. What you'll see is a lot of bachelor's degrees and master's degrees have tied their programs to the different CompTIA certifications and other certifications. A good example of this is Western Governors University. I have a lot of students who go to WGU, and I bet if you say who in the chat goes to WGU, I'll get at least 5 people who are. So I'm gonna make that guess right now. But if you go to WGU, most of the courses are actually tied to a certification. They have a course tied to A+. They have one for Network Plus. They have one for Security Plus, one for Pentest Plus. They have one for ITIL. They have one for Project Plus. And they tie a lot of these. So you're getting your degree and you're getting your certifications. Now, all that to say, when is the right time to get a master's degree? In my opinion, you should get your bachelor's degree or your certifications, get a job, start working. Get a couple of years of experience under your belt, then you can move for a master's degree. Most places don't value the master's degree as much as you think they do. I come from the government, military, contracting world on the DoD side. And in that world, degrees, they want them. they do want to see a master's degree, especially contract companies. Why? Because if you have a master's degree, we can charge more to the government for that person in the seat. So if I hire Tamara and she's got her Security Plus and she's got 6 years of experience, she makes this much. If I hire Jason, who has a Security Plus, 6 years experience and a bachelor's degree, I pay him this much. And if I have somebody who has a master's degree, I can pay him this much. Now, it doesn't mean they're necessarily paying you that much, but they are able to charge the government more for that. And so they like to have those degrees. And so there will be a place where you will end up capping out on salary if you don't get a bachelor's degree or a master's degree if you work in that government contracting world. I will tell you on the other side of the equation, on the commercial side, so one of the things I love about the Your Cyberpath podcast is Kip is completely the commercial sector guy, and I am completely the military government DoD contracting world guy. And so we come from this from two different sides, and we can bounce off things. And when we had this discussion recently, one of the things he said was most employers don't care you have a master's degree in his world. And he works with banks, insurance companies, professional sports teams, and things like that. That said, he has a master's degree. He had his CISSP, he has his certifications and all that stuff. But he got that 10, 15 years ago, and at this point, nobody cares. And most of the people that he's seeing that are hiring these days are less concerned with a master's degree. They're more concerned with what you know. We've had a couple of interviews with some pretty high-level hiring managers on that show as well. And they've told us that the certification tells them that you can do the job. You have a baseline level of knowledge. What a degree tells us is that you can stick with something for a long period of time. If you go get a bachelor's degree, that tells me you can learn, you can study, and you can stick with something that's kind of boring for 4 years to get that degree. A master's degree, add another 2 years on that. So that's kind of my thought on the degree. Definitely get the certifications. And I don't say this just because I sell certifications, so I want to put that out there first. One of the things from a hiring perspective is when you apply for a job, it's going to go through something called the ATS, the Applicant Tracking System. Okay? The applicant tracking system is an automated filter on every resume you put in. And so if you're applying for a job and it says Security Plus recommended or Security Plus required in that job description, and you don't have the word Security Plus on your resume, no human being is ever going to see your resume. It's never going to make it through ATS. And so that's why those certifications become important. They are the filtering mechanism used by HR to get the thousands of applicants down to 40 or 50 that make it in front of a hiring manager to get to the 3 to 5 to 10 that are going to get a phone call for interview to the one that's going to get hired. So certifications will not get you the job, but they will get your resume in front of a human instead of getting filtered out before. And that now becomes interviews, that now becomes people skills and all the other stuff. So anyway, Tamara's looking at me, she's about to slap me, so. Great question, awesome question. So I'm guessing Robert goes to WGU because I know both of these certifications are inside the WGU program. Sorry, okay. So let me start out. I'm going to start with the second question first, which is, what about CompTIA Net Linux Plus? Yes, the answer is yes. I can tell you it's yes because I filmed about 80% of that course already. Then CompTIA announced the new version was coming out this spring. So I put a pause on production. We got the new objectives, and my team is actually going through reviewing what I did, which was based on version 4, and what the new version, version 5, is, identifying where I need to update, change, make differences, and then finish the filming. So that one will be coming out. It should be out, I would say, June-ish, just based on the other productions I have going on. Probably June or July by the time I get back in the studio and film that. But that one will be the first of those 3 that you just mentioned. Now, as far as the other 2, as far as which one would come next, it would be Cloud Plus before Server Plus, and it won't necessarily be Jason doing the entire course for that. So, Tamara's smiling. You want to talk? You can go ahead and talk. Go ahead.
Well, we are in the process of bringing on more Jasons, so that way we can get more courses out to the students that want them. Now, I'm no Jason. I handle him. So we're looking for people who are very charismatic on screen, who are intelligent, who have similar styles to Jason, and we think we have found a great candidate. Yep. And he comes on with us soon, so hopefully.
So yeah, he is actually starting at the end of April, and once he is officially started, I'll bring him on to the next live stream we do after that. He's coming at the end of April, and his first project is going to be Cloud Plus. It's going to be Cloud Essentials Plus, which is the baby version of Cloud Plus. Because that gives us a chance to get his teaching style up to where mine is, And when we do that with him and I, it will actually be, the courses will be done together. And it'll be kind of like a 50-50 teaching. And then over time, as he builds up, his presence and his knowledge and all that kind of good stuff, and it's not knowledge because he knows what he's doing. He's a smart guy.
Yeah,
He spent the last 5 to 10 years doing IT stuff in the cloud, in the infrastructure, all that stuff. And he has the certifications. But now I have to make sure I mold him into the style that you guys are used to for teaching and our format and all of that. But we're going to do that with Cloud Essentials first. Then we're going to do CVO003, which is Cloud Plus. And then we'll look at what's coming out next. Server Plus hasn't really made it to the top of our priority list yet. And the reason is that in general, Server Plus has not been that popular from an employer perspective, and I don't see it asked for very often. One of the things when I pick out what courses I'm going to do, I actually look at things like postings for jobs, and I find out what are employers asking for, because I'm not in the business just to sell you some certification or some training. I want something that's valuable to you. Now, the reason I said that I think you're a WGU is because I know Server Plus is part of their program. And so a lot of WGU students have said, hey, do you have Server Plus? I like all your other stuff. I really want that. And that's the only reason I'm actually really considering doing Server Plus, is to help out those students. But in general, Server Plus is not the thing that's going to unlock a lot of doors for you to get a job. Cloud Plus, I have seen people ask for. They like it because it covers all 3 major cloud providers, Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud. But then after you do Cloud Plus, then you go into one of those pipelines of AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud based on what your employer is going to be using. So the long answer to your question, or the short summary is Linux Plus is first, Cloud Essentials, and Cloud Plus will be after that. The other one that I'm working on is the new Data Plus standards, Data Plus certification that comes out February 28th. And that one I'm also doing as a partnership course with myself and another friend who is a really awesome data smart instructor who his business is all about data and data analytics and all that stuff. And so I know the CompTIA world, he knows the data world, and so we're going to come together to do that course together as a 50-50 model. As much as I'd love to do every course out there, we just can't, and it's just a matter of there's only so many hours in the day. These courses you see, they take a long time to build. The last one we just put out, CAS Plus version 4, just got released. I started filming that in June of last year. It just came out in January. It took me 6 months. I thought it was going to be about a 15, maybe 20-hour course. It ended up being 35 hours because there's just so much content in it. And CompTIA changes the exam every 3 years. And so every 3 years, we got to go and refilm all of our courses. So as far as Tamara said, we are expanding to bring on more Jasons because Jason can only, if it takes me 3 months to do a course, and it usually takes me anywhere from 3 to 6 months, if it takes me 3 months, and that's really fast, that 3 months times 12 certifications is going to take me 36 months, which is the 3-year CompTIA life cycle. And so I can only do 12 things, right? And right now we've got about 30 courses because some of our courses get refreshed less often than that. Things like IDLE, they only refresh every 5 years. And so that buys me a little extra time, but CompTIA is every 3 years. So so that is the big limitation. And Jason only has so many hours in the day. So
I would like to have some of his hours.
Yep.
So y'all can't have all of his hours.
And since I just mentioned CAS Plus, and I see right here, Murdoch asked about CAS Plus. Yes, we did just release CAS Plus on Udemy. It is also coming to LinkedIn Learning. So there has been a change with the way Udemy does their contracting, and they have changed their stuff so that as of about 2 years ago, all courses in Udemy Business, which is their equivalent of LinkedIn Learning, has to be exclusive. The only place I'm allowed to sell them outside of that is my own website. So all of my stuff in Udemy always gets put in Udemy for Business, Udemy Business now. And when it's in Udemy Business, I'm only allowed to sell it on my site. So all of my courses are that way, with one exception, and that is CAS Plus. There's a couple other courses I have on LinkedIn that were put in and contracted before that rule went into effect. So those courses are in both places, like the Risk Management for Managers. That one I think is going away on LinkedIn soon because my buddy Kip actually refilmed the course and they put up his version instead. That's coming up soon. And then the other one is Linux Essentials. I know we have in both places. And I think there might be 1 or 2 other ones. But most of them, as they are getting refreshed in new courses, they're not going on LinkedIn because of that exclusivity. The one exception I did get for that was CAS Plus because I did that one originally. CAS Plus version 3 I did exclusively for LinkedIn Learning. And then all my Udemy students were complaining because they couldn't get it. And my Dion training students were complaining because I couldn't even sell it on my own course when I filmed it for LinkedIn directly. So when I renegotiated the contract when version 4 came out, I said, look, I'm happy to do it, but you have to know that LinkedIn, I'm putting it on Udemy. And I told Udemy, you have to know I'm putting it on LinkedIn. And both of you need to know it's going to be on diontraining.com as well. So right now, you can get it on Udemy. You can get it on Dion Training. I have delivered all the files to LinkedIn back in January. All the contracts are signed, and now they're just going through the install, update, QA process, and roll out to the students. So I expect in the next 3 or 4 weeks, you should see the new version 4 course there. And as I said, that thing is about 30 hours of content. It's pretty beefy.
Okay, which one do I want to do next?
I'm going to grab a drink while she looks.
Yes. We'll go with this one. So, thanks to Jason, he passes A+ on his first try.
Yay!
I will be starting in a cloud computing apprenticeship.
Awesome.
What do you think the job projection is, and what salary should be expected in entry level?
Good question. I don't know where you're located, so I'm going to base this kind of in a generality. So the apprenticeship, that depends. Ooh, I almost kicked over that water. That would have been bad. Let me move that over here. Sorry about that. Okay, so as far as the apprenticeships, I've seen these done all sorts of different ways inside the cloud and cyber communities. I have a buddy who also teaches programming courses, game development, and he had a program with the state of Hawaii at the time, and they were paying people $20 an hour to go through his course and then go work for 6 months after. And it was basically funded by the state, and then they paid it. So it depends on who's paying the bill and who that apprenticeship is through. As far as job projection and salary, cloud people are very, very valuable. Everything is moving to the cloud these days. Generally, within 3 to 5 years, you should be making at $90,000 to $100,000 a year pretty easily in the cloud world. As far as starting out, probably you're going to be looking somewhere in the 40 to 60 range, depending on where you live and where the work environment is. That said, wages have been going up recently. The last time I looked was about 6 months ago, and it was about 40 to 60,000 for that entry-level job in that cloud realm or in the cybersecurity analyst realm. Either of those two. We're pretty competitive on pay. Generally, the places I see people top out is around 120, 130 on the cloud side, unless you are just like the greatest thing to ever come to the cloud. And then I've seen some of those guys who move on to become CTOs that are now making 200, 250. So that's probably the salary expectation you should be thinking of. As far as the future's golden, right? Cloud is everything. Everything in my company is built on cloud. We are a cloud-first company, and specifically, I am a serverless cloud-first company, which means I don't want to deal with the EC2 instances. I want to use Fairgate instead if you're an AWS guy. We use Lambda for all of our back-end automations that we write in Node, in Node.js. All of that stuff is stuff that we are cloud first because we don't want to have to deal with the servers. That's not the business we're in. We're in the business of training students, and we just happen to need tech to do that, which is why we do that. So, and that's coming from a guy who ran servers and data centers for 20 years. I ran huge networks that served millions of end users. And now I'm like, I don't want to run my own servers. Let Amazon do it, right? So you got a great future in the cloud. So definitely the way to go.
I like this one.
Oh. Hey, so again, back to Puerto Rico. Hi from the other side of the island, over in Carolina. I'm over here in Mayahuez, so we're about 2 hours away. And yeah, you have a lot of computer science students. You're teaching. Oh, I'm sorry, you gotta read.
Oh, no, it's fine. I was just gonna say I did see that Eduardo had responded that we were all like asynchronous. We all work remotely. We are the only two that work together in the same building at any given time. But his question I thought you would like.
Yeah. So you're at National University College in Carolina with computer science students. Could you take a group to our facilities? We don't have facilities. So this is a great thing about being a cloud-based company, right? We have 500,000 students around the world, 190 countries, and we have 14 employees right now that service all of you guys. And we continually are hiring more. We've hired 2 more in the last, actually 3 in the last 2 weeks. So we're now up to 14. And our employees and team members are all over the world as well. So here on the island, we have 4 or 5 folks here on the island. And then 4 now. Yeah, we have 4 here on the island in Puerto Rico. We have 1 in Florida. I have 1 in Peru, 1 in India, 1 in Italy.
Minnesota?
1 in, she just started and she's in Wisconsin. Wisconsin?
Somewhere really cold.
One of those cold places. She told me and I totally forgot. I think it's Wisconsin, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure it's Wisconsin. I think you're making me second guess myself. But she's in Wisconsin. And then we have a handful of folks down in the Philippines as well, from my tech side and customer service side. And that works out really well for us because here during the daylight hours, you know, if you write into support, you're going to get Tamara or Eduardo or Joni because we're on this half of the world. And if you write in at nighttime, you're going to get one of our folks over in the Philippines like Crystal or Tim or Matt or Sarah or one of them. So so as far as taking a folk to see our facilities, we don't have any to show you, but I will say if you want me to come and talk to your guys, I would be happy to come over and speak with them. I've done that before for other places over in San Juan. I just basically pick a day that works, and I can drive across the island and come spend a couple hours with you guys talking, and happy to do that. So if you want to set that up, just let me know. And my gatekeeper is Tamara at support@diontraining.com. And we'd be happy to do it. I'm usually over in San Juan at least 2 or 3 times a month anyway. So yeah, we can definitely set that up.
Okay, here's another quick one. Maybe quick. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll make this one quick. Okay, so who should do CASP and CISA? So yes, this is a great question. So CISA should be done before CASP. I also recommend doing Pentest Plus before CASP. Now again, whether you take those 2 certification exams or not, that's up to you. But the material that you're going to learn in those 2 courses is super, super helpful inside of CASP. CASP, for those who don't know, is the top-level CompTIA certification. It stands for the CompTIA Advanced Security Practitioner. They set that certification up to be the equivalent of CISSP, which is kind of the granddaddy certification of them all, but with a twist. Whereas CISSP is very much focused on managerial and risk management and decision-making at that level, CASP is at that same level, but on the technical side. So it's people who want to be a security architect, an engineer, be the IT director or SOC director. That level of person is what we're talking about. So when we talk about CISA, we're talking about somebody with 2 to 4 years of cybersecurity analyst equivalent experience if you can pass the exam. That's what they're looking at. Pentest Plus, similarly, 2 to 4 years. If you're looking at CASP Plus, they're saying 5 years of IT security experience or 10 years inside of IT in general. So, the way I look at CompTIA, they do a really good job of making a ladder, and it goes A+, Net+, Security+, and then they break it to either CISA or Pentest because it's blue team, red team, and then CASP+. And really for CASP+, you should have looked at all of those, and you should also have looked at Linux Plus because you may or may not see something like a simulation that asks you to turn on and turn off services in a Linux system, for example. Just saying. It's one of the things that drove me crazy when I took my first CASP Plus because I went and read the official textbook, and the official textbook for CASP Plus is 200 pages. And they expect that to be the equivalent of 10 years of experience. No way, right? So it's because they expected that you've already done all of those other certs coming up to it. And so you've already been exposed to defense, attack, cloud, Linux, and now you're doing this cherry on top governance risk structure inside of CASP. So as far as who should take which one, if you want to be more of a hands-on keyboard person, you want to be the person doing the work, that's really CISA or Pentest. When you start getting to CASP, you start getting a little bit more managerial, a little bit more architect, a little bit more big picture. And so it is not as in-depth. It's more, well, it is in-depth, but it's in-depth at this larger oversight level. So yeah. Is that my wife? Yeah, that's my wife.
That's me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So this is employee number 1 of the company. I started this as myself, just making videos that I thought would help people. And then we started making courses. And then it takes, if you've ever made video, you'll learn that it takes a long time to make video. For every hour you see on the screen, that takes 10 to 15 hours to write, film, edit, and produce it. And so it was taking me a really long time to put out just one course. And so she was a stay-at-home mom at the time, and she decided to start being my video editor. So she was employee number 1 of Dion Training when we started the company back in 2017. And then as we grew, we took on some people who helped us with customer support because you all email us and ask questions, and we had to read reviews from Udemy and respond to those. We need people to help with captioning the courses and creating the study guides and all those other things. And what we found was that if we can get it so that Jason's not the one putting his hands on all those things, Jason can focus on writing the next course and filming the next course to help more of you. And so if I didn't have the team around me, including my wife, I would be able to do maybe 1 course a year. Instead of right now, I do between 4 to 8 courses a year. And even that is a lot.
It's
So.
insane.
Yeah, and yeah, it's my beautiful wife. We've been married now for 19 years. Hope I didn't screw that up. 19?
19.
Yeah. Yes, I
Just
didn't screw it up.
we just hit 19 years.
Yeah. So we've been together for 19 years, and you know, if you want to talk about crazy stories, we met each other and got married 3 weeks later. So there you go. Sometimes it works. Don't do that. Not a good idea.
Don't. I was 18. I don't know what I was thinking other than, oh, I like him.
Yeah, I was kind of dumb at the time too. So there we go. But we're together. We've been together for 19 years, and yeah. So yeah, that's my wife.
I'm not looking to change it anytime. So yeah, there we go. Okay, let's go with this one.
All right. Go ahead. You're supposed to read the questions.
I'm currently in a role for the DoD. I don't know.
Using Nessus. And
for
vulnerability scanning.
Okay, sure. Troubleshooting, etc. He's looking for a remote role. What can you suggest?
Yeah, so remote roles right now are big. That's one of the good things that came out of COVID, to be quite honest. Most companies were very afraid of doing remote. And because of COVID, they got forced into it. A lot of companies started seeing that you actually could get a lot of work out of an employee. In fact, most production has gone up from people working in remote roles. In my company, we've always been remote first. We've been a remote-only company. We are moving to a remote-first company next year, excuse me, which means we're actually getting an office building, and we are going to have people who can come to the office. But we are remote first, which means you don't have to come to the work every day. You can go work from home. But I'd like to see you maybe once a week or a couple times a month, that kind of thing. Obviously, that won't work for my folks in the Philippines or India. They're not flying in once a month, but you get the idea. For those of us who are local, we'll be able to be together. As far as remote work, what should you be looking for? You're in the DoD, which means you're probably dealing with secure networks. And if you have a security clearance, you're not going to get a lot of remote work using a security clearance because you can't take secret stuff home. You can't take top secret stuff home. So the challenge with that is you are going to see a drop in pay versus what you're used to. And I'm making an assumption here based on your one comment that you are a cleared professional working in the DoD for their NIPRNet, CIPRNet, and maybe even their top secret networks. And you don't have to answer if you are or not, but I'm just talking to you because you and I speak the same language. But if that's the case, you're probably making an extra $20,000 or $30,000 a year because you have that security clearance. But the trade-off in that is that you don't really get to work remotely most of the time. I did that for 20 years, and that's why I don't work for the DoD anymore, because I want to be able to make my own hours. I want to be able to work remotely when I want to. So that is something you would have to look at non-DoD companies. That said, there are a few places with DoD and DoD contractors that do offer remote work to be able to do NIPRNet type of work, and you can leverage that. The thing you have going for you is you're already in a job you have Nessus experience, you have vulnerability scanning experience, you have troubleshooting experience, and you have that clock running on your resume. So when you're looking at your resume, make sure you're putting your information in there as actionable bullets, right? I did this, created this effect so that this happened for the organization. Making sure you're writing it that way so people can put in their mind what is the value. It really will help you get hired. As far as 100% remote roles, most companies are listing that in the job description now, whether it's remote or not, and you'll be able to search for that pretty quickly. One thing I would say, when you're negotiating for a role, if you want it to be 100% remote and remain 100% remote, make sure that is something that you find out, because a lot of companies right now are saying, this is a 100% remote position, and then 6 months later they're going, oh yeah, we decided everybody's moving back to the office. Well, I took the job and I live in Puerto Rico and you are in California. I'm not commuting to the office every day, right? Or wherever you happen to live, right? So that's something you need to figure out ahead of time with that company. There are companies that are 100% remote and always have been. There are companies that are now going 100% remote because they're seeing they can save a lot of money by not having to have the office spaces. There are some companies that are realizing they want people to be in the same office. That's one of the things in our company right now. We would like to have that company culture where everybody's together at least a couple of days a week, and that's why we're moving that direction. So, so as far as that, go on LinkedIn, go on Monster, go on ZipRecruiter, look for the jobs, look for the position that matches what you want. And because you have experience, you're going to be able to get a remote role over somebody who doesn't have experience, and they're going to be more willing to work with you. Where I see a lot of people really struggle to get a remote position is when they only have a certification, or they only have a degree, or they have both of those, but they have no experience. And so it's going to be their first cybersecurity job, and they want to work remotely. Well, the problem with that is it's really hard to train you remotely if you have no experience, right? You have experience, you already know how to do this, and so if you're doing a similar job and now you're just going to do it from home, that probably wouldn't be a big issue. So hopefully that helps.
question, Sonia.
Yep.
Is there any resource that teaches how to read logs and use cybersecurity tools?
Yeah, so there's lots of stuff out there. There's a million things out there, to be quite honest. One of the things I like about the certifications in general is that with certifications, they give you a good baseline of knowledge, and it becomes the outline for you to dig deeper into. So a good example, reading logs, totally covered inside of CYSA+. They're going to introduce you to the concept, they're going to introduce you to the tools, what a SIEM is, how to use it, but they're not going to make you an expert in using Security Onion, for example. But now that you've been introduced to it, you can then go online, and YouTube is a great resource for this, and type how to analyze logs in Security Onion, right? Or how to analyze logs in ArcSight, or whatever SIEM of your choice, and you'll be able to see that stuff exactly. There was a really good book, and I can't remember the name of it now, and it's about 10 years old, so it's probably outdated at this point anyway, but it literally was a book of logs. And it would be like, here's a 5-page log, and then they would do the analysis of, here's what we see in this log, and it would walk through everything. I know, a nerdy book. That's not a good book in your mind. But for studying log analysis, it was a great book. And I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. I'm so sorry. But as far as any of these cybersecurity tools, there are lots and lots of videos out there on YouTube. There's lots of courses. Great resource that's really inexpensive, Udemy, udemy.com. I have a lot of my courses on there. If you are in a company that gives you Udemy for Business or LinkedIn Learning or Pluralsight, all of those are great places as well. If you are paying for Udemy on your own and you know you're going to be doing a lot of courses soon, like hey, in the next 6 months, I want to get these 5 certifications, learn all these tools. The best way to do it is their new personal plan that they have. It's like 20 to 30 bucks a month, I think it is, but it's like Netflix for education. You can go onto Udemy, and all of my courses are in there, and you don't have to pay me a dime. You just pay your 30 bucks or 20 bucks a month to Udemy, and whatever you watch, Udemy will then pay me for it. You don't have to worry about that. But but the good thing is, it's not just my stuff, right? So if you're interested in the cloud, Stefan Merrick's in there. If you're interested in AWS Cloud, it's Stefan Merrick. If you like Azure Cloud, it's Scott Duffy. If you want to do SISM or PMP or CISP, Thor Teaches is on there. They've got 5 to 10,000 amazing courses that cover pretty much anything in cybersecurity you would want. If you really want to learn how to use cybersecurity hacking tools or analyst tools, Station X with Nathan House, he's on there as well. And all of those things are in there that you can get as part of that personal plan membership. And I believe there's no commitment. I don't think it's like a year commitment. I think it's just a month-to-month thing. So you can turn it on this month, study a whole bunch for the next month or two, turn it off again. And it's a great way to get a lot of content really inexpensively. And also, if you're in college or you're in a library system, some of them have contracts with Udemy as well. I know Western Governors, I mentioned them earlier because a lot of their students are in my courses. They actually give their students that Udemy personal plan or Udemy business, they're on the business side, for all their students. And so they can go in and watch all my courses for free as well as part of their WGU tuition. So all of that is great free resources out there. There's a ton of stuff out there. One other really good place that I'm going to mention, sorry, she's going to smack me. So there's a company called Black Hills Information Security with John Strand. And I was introduced to them through our Your Cyberpath podcast. Last episode, or the one before that, we interviewed Job Strand. And we talked about, he runs a thing called Antisiphon Training. And I'm going to throw this in chat because it's really weird to spell. So Antisiphon Training. And if you go check out Antisiphon Training, he does a pay-what-you-can model. And you can sign up for the training. It's SANS level training. This guy trains with SANS for 15 years. And he loves SANS training. It's some of the best in the world.
I don't know why Eduardo's winking at you.
I don't either. I'll have to figure that out in a second. I got distracted. But SANS is some of the best training in the world, right? But most of us can't afford it because it's $5,000 to $6,000 for a 2 or 3 day course. Well, what John has done with Antisiphon Training is he ran a penetration testing firm that has 100 people. And when COVID happened, he was like, oh crap, what am I going to do? All my engagements are getting canceled because nobody wants us to come on site. We can't travel all over the place. So he started doing this pay what you can model to help people get new jobs, to help people learn. And he took his people who've been doing penetration testing professionally and had them start teaching. And they all come in. These are people who do this for real, and they come in and they teach. And that is all skills-based, hands-on training. It's no multiple choice stuff. It's all, let me open the tool and show you how to do stuff. And you could pay $5, $50, $500, whatever you feel it was worth at the end, you throw them some money as a tip. And by doing that, they're helping 5,000 people in a course, right? And so they can pay these really good instructors to do this stuff without having to charge you individually $5,000. So that's a great place to go as well. Antisiphon Training, check it out. And I think it was episode 64. So yourcyberpath.com/64 will get you right there.
Okay. Elaine has completed her BS in cyber and is studying for the Security Plus exam. She's got no experience in IT and has worked in the clinical healthcare industry for 7+ years. Is IT security administrator a good way to transfer into the field?
Okay, sorry, I was distracted because I was trying to figure out why Eduardo was winking at me, and I now see why. So I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, let's talk about Elaine's first. It's that one.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
All right. Completed your bachelor's of science in cyber. Awesome. Studying for Security Plus. No experience in IT. Worked in healthcare. Okay. So what would I do? Two things, right? I like to do what we call the TwoStep. And we talk about this in my hired program and your Cyberpath. We bring this up a lot. But somebody like you is perfect for this, right? You have experience in a particular industry. You already have a skill set. But you don't want to do that skill set anymore. I have somebody, we were just finishing up our hired program for February, which helps students with their resumes, interview skills, and negotiations to help them get into their careers. And this person, she has worked for the last 15 years in healthcare doing technical things. If I remember correctly, I'm horrible with medical stuff, so that's why I'm going to screw it up. But I believe it was something to do with like maintenance and work on the sonogram systems that you see like the baby and stuff. Yes, something like that, okay? So she works on a technical capacity inside of healthcare, but she's not like a cyber person or a computer person necessarily, right? But she has a lot of skills that are really relevant to that world. And she's trying to get into being a cybersecurity analyst or a pen tester eventually. So what I had recommended to her was she should look at either an IT security administrator position, like you were asking, or an IT auditor position. Now, the reason I brought that up is because, same thing with you, you have 7+ years of clinical healthcare industry experience. That means you are probably really, really smart on HIPAA. And unlike most candidates, I bet you can actually spell HIPAA because most of the time I see people spell it wrong on their resume and it immediately tells me they don't know what they're talking about. So HIPAA is not, it's HIPAA, right? Not HIPPA. And people always get it backwards, right? Maybe I just got backwards because I'm talking live in my head, but you get the point. But knowing HIPAA and knowing the rules and regulations of HIPAA and having lived in HIPAA, you have a lot of skills that would be really good in the IT auditor realm. And the IT auditor realm is a good way of getting in through cybersecurity that is a GRC type role, governance, risk, and compliance. Using your Security Plus, using your bachelor's degree, you should be able to get into a junior IT auditor role. The other reason I bring up IT auditor is it's kind of a little bit on the outside that a lot of people don't think of that as a traditional cybersecurity job because everybody thinks SOC analyst, pen tester, security admin, something like that. So there's nothing wrong with doing an IT security admin, but I will tell you there's a lot of IT auditor positions and they're going unfilled because we can't find candidates to fill them. And people like you who already have job experience that is relevant, we call those transferable skills, we can bring over. Another great example of people in this category are people who are bookkeepers or accountants. I had one student, she had been an accountant making $70,000, $80,000 per year. She didn't want to start over in the help desk for $10 or $15 an hour. But instead, she was able with her Security Plus and her CYSA Plus to get an auditor, IT auditor job, and she was making $75,000, $80,000 a year starting salary. And after 2 years, she was able to move into a pen testing role, and she was making even more. And that was ultimately what her goal was, to go pen testing. But doing these type of things, we have these transferable skills, and doing this two-step into your ultimate job really can help. And this is another thing for people who have no IT experience whatsoever. For instance, you have healthcare industry experience. Maybe if you can't get a security admin job, you can get an IT job or a system admin job in healthcare because hospital chains would love to hire you because you already speak their language and you're really relatable. And then you can use that experience to leverage your cybersecurity job. All right, let me go ahead and answer the other one.
This is kind of a twofer. So we've got first this question. Would you be selling the CAS Plus vouchers on your website soon?
Yeah, so that was a Jason made a mistake thing. So I bought the vouchers. We loaded them into the site. We built all the back-end automations so they're in the system, ready to sell. And Jason got distracted and forgot to put up the sales page. So they're there, you just can't get to them. So actually, earlier today, I found this out around 4 hours ago. And so I did send a message over to my web guy, who luckily is in the Philippines. So I expect by this time tomorrow, they'll be up. So if you go to diontraining.com/vouchers, where you see the Linux Essentials voucher button right now, that should change to CASP, and Linux should move down one. And you'll be able to get it. The vouchers that we're carrying right now are USD vouchers, which are used in the US, Canada, Puerto Rico, the Caribbean, and a couple other countries. Remember, CompTIA vouchers are country specific. So when you look at it, make sure you're selecting the country you're going to test in. We are selling USD vouchers, and the other ones we're selling right now are Europe vouchers. And there's about 40 countries that are classified as Europe, including some in Africa for some reason. Don't know why, but it's how CompTIA splits up the world. Those are the two that we have in stock and that we'll be selling immediately. And I think the other question that Tamara had was, when will we expand the Dion Training Locations vouchers program? Yes, we are working on that. So the reason why we had to pull back our program, initially when we rolled out the program, we were selling vouchers everywhere. And CompTIA,
except Japan for some reason.
Japan and South Africa.
Yes.
So the way CompTIA breaks up the world is they have 8 regions. They have a Japan region, which is literally just Japan. They have a South Africa region that is literally just South Africa. And so we didn't carry those because we don't have enough students in either of those single places to carry the vouchers and buy them in bulk to get you the discount, because we have to buy enough of them to get the discount from CompTIA and then pass on that savings to you.
Sorry, could you say that again?
Thank you, Siri. For those who don't know, with CompTIA, if you go to their site and it's $381 for a voucher there, if you go to our site, it's 10% less. You'll save $38.10 off that voucher, for example. And to do that, we have to buy it at a discount from CompTIA, and we have to buy enough of them to do that. As far as all the vouchers, so when we first started working with CompTIA, we did carry every voucher except Japan and South Africa. The other regions, there are 6 regions, and each one has a bunch of countries in it. US is one of the smallest regions, but it is one of our biggest markets because we have a lot of US and Canadian students. So we do carry those. We do carry Europe, which is one of another big region, which has about 50 countries. There's another one called USDE, which is what they call the emerging markets. That's places like India, Philippines, Pakistan, places where currency doesn't go as far. And those are the cheapest vouchers. We don't currently carry those. There's another one called USDG, which is the exact same price as the USD ones, but for some reason they put them in their own category. Don't know why, but that's got about 70 or 80 countries. And then there's another one for Great Britain, and it's like Great Britain and former Great Britain colonies, I think, because there's about 10 or 15 places in that. And I think that was it. Yeah.
I think so.
USD, USDE, USDG. Oh, Australia. There's another one for Australia, which is about 4 countries, Australia, New Zealand, and the Oceanic region. So anyway, we did carry all of those except for Japan and South Africa. The reason we don't anymore is because of some bad folks, okay? So we process our credit cards. When you buy the voucher, you put in a credit card, our system automatically grabs the next voucher we have in stock and passes it on to you. You get the voucher within about 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes at most. We got the money from you from the credit card, everything's good. What we were finding was we were getting chargebacks and disputes, because what was happening was, especially in the USDE region and USDG regions, we were having people who would buy the vouchers from us with stolen credit cards. We would then get chargebacks 5-10 days later, which meant not only did we lose the money for the voucher because we now lost the voucher, we also got hit with a chargeback fee from our credit card processor, and we were about to get our credit card ability to accept credit cards turned off, because if your dispute rates go too high, they'll take away your ability to accept credit cards. And so we immediately turned off all vouchers until we got this under control. We were able to put in some things in place and mitigations with our credit card processor to get it under control in USD, US, and Europe. We are still working with them to be able to turn it back on in places like India, the Philippines, the Middle East, Africa, and places like that. So unfortunately, we don't have it right now because of those bad actors. And this happened 3 times over a year.
It was bad.
We ended up getting out of pocket about $50,000 in vouchers that were stolen. So it was really, really bad. And so it almost made us shut down the entire program completely and not do vouchers anymore and say, sorry, just go to CompTIA and buy them. We don't want to do that. We want to be able to help you guys save money as much as we can. But we have to also risk management for our company and for our credit card processing, because if they turned off our credit card processing, we couldn't even sell courses on our site anymore or anything else. And so that's the answer. The long and open kimono why we don't sell it in those regions right now is because of a bunch of bad actors. That said, you'll also notice most places online that sell vouchers don't sell it for those countries either. They all sell only for US because they don't want to take that risk either. And so really the only place that I see nowadays that are selling it for those countries happens to be CompTIA's direct website or Pearson VUE's direct website. And unfortunately, you have to pay full price on those. And I don't know a way around that yet. We are trying to work with them to mitigate that and be able to bring them back. But right now, we don't. Put me on the spot there, girl.
Hey, it was asked. So, well,
we did say ask me anything.
We did.
And I'll be honest. If I can be honest, I'll be honest.
Yeah, it hurts because our entire goal is to help the students. And by having that happen, we were no longer able to help those students because it just went away. Yeah,
bad actors screwed up for everybody, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to.
So this Nemo says ask how to learn, study Selenium and SQL if you have no IT background.
Yeah, so I think the best thing, so there's really 3 ways you can learn things, right? One is the old-fashioned and probably the worst way. And this is to go grab, go to selenium.com, pull up their manual and start reading through documentation. Boring, right? No fun. And it's just hard to do. The second way is to go on YouTube and you can start searching for specific answers to specific questions you have. And YouTube's really great for that. So, YouTube, if I want to say how to install Fargate or Docker image in Fargate for AWS, I could type that in and find a video that shows me 10, 15 minutes exactly what to do. But if I want to learn everything about AWS, or in your case, everything about Selenium and SQL, YouTube is not nearly as good for that. It's hard to find good quality curated playlists that have all the information. They exist, but it takes a little more searching. And then if you go to something like Udemy, LinkedIn Learning, Pluralsight, something like that, that's where you get that curated course that takes you from I know nothing to I'm pretty proficient at it. My courses are not designed to do that. We're not in the business of teaching you how to use specific tools necessarily. I'm more interested in teaching you how to think and learn the concepts, the theory, and why this all works. The reason I do that is a couple of reasons, right? One is the tools change so fast. If I did a video on how to use, I have a buddy who teaches AWS, for instance. Every 6 months, he has to go and refilm all of his videos because AWS loves to just change the interface on him, and it makes all his videos no longer good. So I couldn't keep up with that and serve as many students if I was teaching those type of courses that are very hands-on. Secondly, the technology changes so quickly, and just because you learn it today doesn't mean you're going to know it 3 weeks from now. I'll give you a great example. I am really good with a lot of pen testing tools, and I was really good with Recon NG. I went in last night to go film my Recon NG lesson for my new Pentest Plus version 2 course, and half the commands wouldn't work, and I couldn't figure out why. And then I looked up and I was like, oh, well, between version 4 and version 5, which was about 6 months ago, they changed all the syntax. And so none of this stuff worked anymore, right? So again, so if I have a Recon NG video from version 4 in Pentest 1, well, guess what? It's no longer valid, and you're following bad instructions. So, and that's the same thing that happens a lot with times with YouTube videos and other courses. But the thing I like about a course like you'll find on Udemy is generally you'll have somebody who will take you step by step. They'll explain the theory, they'll explain the background, they'll show you how to use it, and you can learn that way. And it gives you the good overview. And then you can dive into those individual deep questions with a YouTube video that's targeted to those things. So that's kind of the way I learn things when I'm looking at some kind of a new tool or technique like that. Matthew.
So, to piggyback on Taylor's question, with a Security Plus only cert and no IT experience, what kind of keywords or verbiage can you put on my resume in order to get looks or interviews? Coming from a casino management background.
Awesome. Okay. So let's see. So Security Plus only, 0 IT experience. Coming from casino management, keywords and verbiage. So first thing I'll tell you is don't lie, right? Don't embellish the truth. I know people like to embellish the truth. Put down things you did. But you need to start doing some things to create experience. Now, experience doesn't have to be paid. And this is something that a lot of people don't remember or don't realize, right? They think I can only have experience on my resume if it was a job and somebody paid me for it. Instead, there's other ways to gain experience. For example, if you have no IT experience or cybersecurity experience, you have your Security Plus now. How can you start gaining some experience? Some of the ways I like to do it is volunteering always works. Internships work, but I'm not talking about internships in the traditional, I'm going to quit my job and go work for free for 6 months internships. There are a lot of remote internships now, especially with COVID, where you can actually work with a company, and it may be that you're working with them 10 hours a week, almost like a part-time job, but now you're starting that clock on, hey, I was working as a SOC analyst for XYZ organization, 10 hours a week, part-time for 3 months. And now you've got that experience, so that helps. As far as specific keywords and verbiage, it's going to be based on the resume that you're looking at specifically. And to help with this, I don't have a resume to throw up in front of me job posting. I don't have a job posting to throw up in front of me right now. But on the 22nd, I want to say.
Yes, it was the 22nd because it's on Tuesday.
Tuesday the 22nd. I am going to be doing another live stream that is focused specifically on resumes and what you can do to improve your resumes. That one will actually be on my Your Cyberpath channel. So it's youtube.com/YourCyberpath, which is my podcast. And we're doing that with me and Kip. And Kip is doing most of the work on that one, to be quite honest, because he is my resume guru. And what he's going to do is he's going to bring up 2 or 3 different examples of job postings and then say, if this was the job you're applying for, see how they use these keywords? These are the keywords you want to build into your resume. Now, it's easy for me to tell you that, but now you're going to say, well, how do I do that, right? And he's actually going to say, okay, if I was applying for this job, here's what I would write to match up their keywords, to make it logical in my resume, to show I have this experience, this knowledge, this passion, this desire for those things. Because with these applicant tracking systems, what ends up happening is it's all about keyword matching, and it uses machine learning and AI. And as it does that, it's going to use what is inside of the job posting as the baseline for that. And so if they said Security Plus and you have Security Plus, good, you've hit that keyword. If they say, we use AWS Fairgate here, then you should have the words AWS Fairgate in your thing. And it may be that, you could say, I built out a penetration testing lab using AWS Fairgate with Docker containers, right? Something like that, to get those words in context. You don't want to just stuff keywords, but if you're looking at a job and you know what you're looking for, and you're going to see the same type of things be asked for by lots of different employers, if you don't have those experiences yet, start getting those experiences. Another way to get experience, besides internships, is you can do volunteer work. There are lots of churches, synagogues, places of worship, local boys and girls clubs, things like that. They don't have cybersecurity folks, and they probably need some. And they would love for you to come in and be like, hey, I'm going to come volunteer. I did this at my church back when I was in Maryland. I volunteered at my church, and I helped them with their IT network. And I would come in and go, hey, this is not secure. This is what you need to change. Here's how you do it. And that counts as cybersecurity analysis, cybersecurity auditing experience, right? Because I was doing that and helping them with that. In my case, I didn't need that experience, but you get the idea. But you can start using that, and you can then get, as a reference, you could put down, church blank, right? And here's the pastor's name, go call him. And they can say, yeah, Jason did a great job. He made sure we were secure. We had 0 breaches after he was here, right? That's experience. Another place you can help out with is Boys and Girls Clubs. Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. My son was a Boy Scout, and they had a cybersecurity merit badge. You could go in there and teach that cybersecurity merit badge to those Boy Scouts, and guess what? That's cybersecurity experience. You're training cybersecurity for the next generation. Another thing is you can build out labs, either in the cloud or in VirtualBox. Build out the labs, and then tell me in your resume how you have experience with those keywords that I used in my job posting. We talked about earlier, somebody said Nessus, right? If my job posting said I'm looking for a vulnerability scanner who's familiar with Nessus, you should be able to say, built a home lab of X number of machines, or built a cloud-based lab with 50 hosts. And in those 50 hosts, I did vulnerability scanning, patching, and enumeration to make sure they were all up to date and patched every 24 hours, whatever it is. Tell me what you did, how you did it, and that will get you to show me, A, you're passionate because you're doing this on your own time, but B, you also have the skills because you can actually do it. You didn't just pass Security Plus. You actually can do this work now. So those are the kind of things I would think about that come straight to my mind. And again, on the 22nd, definitely, obviously you like live streams on YouTube, so come check me out on youtube.com/YourCyberpath. I promise you it will be worth the 30 to 45 minutes of your time because Kip is just a genius when it comes to resumes and getting past the filters. More so than I am. As far as the new ITIL certification, so this goes back to what I said earlier. Jason only has so many hours in the day. So I want to do them because we teach all the other ITIL certifications. What happened with these is they kind of released them and didn't tell us in advance. Normally they go, hey, in 6 months, we're going to have this new certification, and here's a train the trainer session, and here's the textbook, and here's some practice exams, and go get certified. Because to teach ITIL, you have to be certified in ITIL and the next level for all of them. I'm certified in all the IDLE stuff except those 2 new ones because they didn't tell me ahead of time it was coming, which is really strange.
2 weeks
Yeah,
or something.
They told me like
ridiculous. I got an email. I was like, Jason, when
we're happy to announce the new certification is coming. I'm like, what new certification? And I'm usually up to date on this stuff, right? So I was really, really shocked there.
Yeah, that was a fun afternoon.
So thanks, people, sir.
Confused.
But yeah, so to answer your question, what do I think about them? 2 things. One is they didn't give me enough time, so that's why I don't teach them yet. Will we teach them? Yes. It'll probably be second half of this year because, as I talked earlier, I have a lot of CompTIA stuff I got to get done right now. Pentest Plus 2, A Plus Part 1 and Part 2 comes out in April is the new version for that. We got to get those done. Linux Plus, and then helping the partnerships I'm doing with Data Plus and Cloud Plus. So that's keeping me very busy up until about August, September timeframe. So that is when I will start looking at those to be able to do them. Now, as far as certifications, this also goes back to my initial philosophy on certifications. And when you think about certifications, I don't collect them like Pokemon cards. Well, I do, but you shouldn't. And the reason I do is because I teach them, and anything I teach, I have to be certified in. But if I was Jason, the cybersecurity analyst trying to get a job, there's about 3 to 5 certifications I need, right? In IDLE, there's right now, these 2 certifications, they kind of added them in, but they didn't really add them in per se. If you look at the IDLE path, everybody starts at foundation, and then you split off into either managing professional or strategic leader. If you're a strategic leader, there's 2 certifications, DPI, Direct Plan and Improve, and IDLE Leader. If you take managing professional, you're going to get DPI, Direct Plan and Improve, because it's shared on both sides, CDS, Create, Deliver, and Support, HVIT, High Velocity IT, and DSV, Drive Stakeholder Value. But if you look at these new ones, the Sustainability and the Cloud certification, they're not in either path. They're just extra that was just thrown out there, and it seemed like they just kind of got thrown out for no reason. Not no reason, but nobody really is asking for them yet. I don't know any employers right now. If I look across job boards, I've never seen anybody asking for either of those 2 certs yet. So in my mind, until employers start asking for it, I don't really go for it too much. The exception to that was IDLE Managing Professional, because people were asking for IDLE Expert, which was the old V3, and Managing Professional was the new Expert version in V4. So that was just a direct replacement, and employers will catch up to that very quickly. I don't know, and Axelos and PeopleStart haven't told me if they're planning on making those 2 part of either of those 2 paths. And I don't think they will, because it wouldn't be fair. Because I'm already a managing professional because I got my 4 certs. If they now say to you, you got to get those 4 plus cloud, now you got to get 5, why is that fair to you that you have to get 5 and I only have to get 4? So I don't think they're going to do that. And so I think they were late to the game adding these 2 in, and they're just kind of like additional extra outside the path. It kind of reminds me of CompTIA. If you look at CompTIA, they've got their standard pipeline, A+, Net+, Security+, CISA Pen Test, CAS+. But then they also have things like Data+, Cloud+, Linux+, Server+. They're good, but they're not in the core path. They're just extra over on the side. And because of that, most employers don't ask for a lot of those. Some of them they would do, some of them they don't. But Cloud Plus is asked for, Server Plus, no one cares, from what I've seen in the marketplace, because it's kind of outside and it's just off to the side. And I think that those 2 new ones are probably going to be in that bucket. I have a lot of students asking me for them because they want to collect all the Pokemon cards. But I don't think there's a return on value for you yet. Maybe return on knowledge value, but not return on investment from a job perspective. So will we do them? Probably. Are we doing them anytime soon? Probably not.
I'll do this one.
I talk too much, I know, I'm sorry.
I'm debating whether to buy a retake voucher for Security Plus through CompTIA or through Dion Training. I definitely think I'm going to fail the first time.
Okay.
So, retake vouchers are definitely worth it if you're a nervous test taker, if you're unsure, if it's been like really hard on you, like studying for this exam. Ours doesn't come, like, because I know CompTIA has one, but it comes with a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, so
super expensive.
So let me talk about the difference here. So you can go to CompTIA store, and I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just going to tell you that right now. You could buy it from them. You could buy it from us. Doesn't matter to me either way. As long as you get certified, I'm happy. So if you go to their site and you get the regular voucher for Security Plus, it's $381, I think. If you get the one on our site, it's $381 minus 10%. So you save some money. Now, if you want to get the retake voucher with them, their retake voucher, they don't sell just a retake voucher. To get the retake voucher, you have to get their bundle. And the bundle includes the voucher, the retake voucher, and their textbook. Their textbook is about $170. So that package becomes about $500 to $600. Now, if you need the textbook anyway, it's a good deal. If you don't need the textbook, it's an extra cost for you, especially when you can buy a Pearson IT book or a Mike Myers book for 30, 40 bucks on Amazon versus the 170 from CompTIA for an ebook. Okay, that's it. Now, on our site, we do a what we call the Take Two program. And the way it works is each certification, we have a price associated with it for the Take Two, and it's an upsell. So in addition to you getting the 10% off the 381, so it makes it, I don't know, 340 something, 350, somewhere on there, for your voucher, it'll say, would you like to add the Take Two option? And it's $99, I think, on Security Plus, if I remember correctly. I'm going from memory, it's been a while, but I think it's $99 for ours. So for somewhere around $450 or so, I think it's like $450, $460, you'll get your Security Plus plus a retake. You don't get a voucher, you don't get a textbook, you don't get any practice exams, none of that, but you do get access to our searchable video library and our study guide, which is our study guide, our notes from our Udemy course in there as well for free. But that's about $450. So ours is cheaper, which is good. And you're just paying for what you want if all you want is the retake. So that's that. Now, the other thing to add into your calculus is if you bought the course at Dion Training versus Udemy, I get this question a lot, is what's the difference between my site and Udemy? Udemy's great. I love Udemy. They're a great partner. I send a lot of students to Udemy, and I think it's great. They give us restrictions on what we can and can't do in the courses there, though. One of the restrictions is in a video course, I can only give you one practice exam. So if you get my Security Plus my Security Plus video course there, which it's normally $199 retail, but usually you can get it for $10, $20, $30 on sale, which is great. You're going to get 30 hours of video and one practice exam. But if you want more practice exams, you got to buy our practice exam course there, which is a separate course that has 0 videos and just 6 full-length practice exams. And so that is, usually it's $99. You can get it on sale for $10, $15, $20, $30, whatever it is. And again, for all of our Udemy courses, go to diontraining.com/Udemy. If you click those links, it always gives you the lowest price. So if Udemy tells you it's $199, they're lying. Go to my site, click on diontraining.com/Udemy, click the button. It'll drop it to somewhere between $10 and $25, depending on the course and that month's price, because they let us set it on a monthly basis.
They decide what the lowest price is.
Yeah.
We can't.
They give us the option of lowest price to maximum price. Pick your thing, and we always pick the lowest, and it's good for 30 days, and we throw it on our site. So that's the Udemy version. So if you want all the practice exams I have and the videos, you'd get the Udemy course and buy both those pieces, and it'll probably cost you $20, $30, $40 by the time you buy both those pieces. On our site, you can go find Security Plus at diontraining.com/CompTIA Security. And if you go to that, or just /courses is easier to find anyway. But if you go there, you're going to find that our CompTIA courses are a little different on our site. On our site, you're getting all the videos from Udemy, exact same videos, 100%. I'm not going to lie to you, same thing. You're going to get practice exams. Excuse me.
They're the same practice exams.
The difference is our practice exam engine pulls from our central database, and I have more questions in there. For each of my exams, I write between 500 and 1,000 questions. On Udemy, I can only put forward 6 practice exams at most and 90 questions at most. So that's 540 questions at most, and they control the environment, I control mine. So on mine, you're going to get a couple more practice exam questions, but that's not really a big deal. It's pretty equivalent. The big difference is as you're going through the course, we actually have hands-on labs. And those labs actually launch up, and it brings you into a cloud-based environment, and you actually use a security tool, like you're going to do password cracking in there. You're going to do log analysis in there. You're going to use a SIEM. You're going to do Metasploit. Whatever it is for that particular course, whether it's Pen Test or Security Plus or Network Plus or whatever, you go in and you actually do these things. And so that goes beyond the certification, but it really helps you feel confident in being able to do this in the real world. The other thing you get with our course, on our site, whenever you buy a course at Dion Training, whether it's CompTIA, IDLE, or Prince 2, is we have a 60-day, 100% pass guarantee. And the way this works is I'm guaranteeing my training material. Unfortunately, Udemy doesn't let me do this. It's against their terms of service, so I cannot do it for Udemy students. Sorry. But if you buy it from Dion Training, I control the experience, and I can do it. So on Dion Training, when you buy the course, and our courses are more expensive on Dion Training because you are...
You did forget they also do come with the digital book now, too.
Yes. Sorry. They do come with the digital textbook as well. That $179 CompTIA book, that comes inside the course as well. The only thing that doesn't come in our course is your exam voucher. And the reason for that is they're geolocated. It's based on where you live. But anyway, you get the labs, you get the textbook, you get the videos, you get the practice exams, and you get the 100% pass guarantee, which is like your retake voucher. The only difference is in our pass guarantee, you have to complete our course first within 60 days of buying it. So if you bought it today, you've got 2 months to do the course and then go take the exam. If you fail, I buy you a new voucher. That's the pass guarantee. So all that said,
all of the steps have to be done in the 60 days.
Yes.
All of
You buy it, you complete the course, you take the exam, and if all that happens in 60 days in that order, we pay for your voucher because we're guaranteeing that if you go through my course on Dion Training, I know you went through the course, I stand behind my training, and if you still fail, I feel like I failed because I didn't teach you well enough, right? So that's how we do that. So all that to be said, you have 3 different options there when it comes to retake vouchers. You can go to CompTIA, you're going to get a voucher for your test, and if you fail, they'll send you a second voucher, and you also get your ebook. If you go to Dion Training, you get just the voucher with the retake, and you could fail for any reason on that as long as you show up for the exam. If you miss your exam, it's not considered a fail, so you have to take the exam. But if you take the exam and you get a 500, you send me a copy of that score report, you bought that retake voucher, we're going to go ahead and give you a brand new voucher, no problem. And then the third option is if you bought the course at our site and completed it, you don't need the retake voucher because it's already included under your pass guarantee. So that's the 3 ways to do it. I know I went on really long on that, but I realized that was something I probably needed to talk about.
Yep. Okay, since it is nearing the end of our 90 minutes that we scheduled, I will do this one as the last one. As cybersecurity is taking over all the IT jobs in terms of hot demand, which fields or specialists do you think will be the next big thing?
Yeah, in Puerto Rico, it's 10:30 at night, so her brain's going to sleep. Yeah, so what do I think is the next big thing? So really, there are 3 main areas that I see being the big thing. Really, cybersecurity is big, and it's continuing to be big. As far as IT jobs, cloud is big and will continue to be big. I've seen a big movement into data, which is why CompTIA added their Data Plus certification that's coming out at the end of this month in about 3 weeks. And data in general is just becoming a big, big thing because data analysts are making good money. $150,000 a year salaries are very common in the data analytics world because everything is data these days. If I had a data analyst on staff, they'd be able to go through my databases of all my student interactions and tell me exactly which questions are most likely to tell me if a student's going to pass or fail. This is one of the things we're actually working on in our site is we're actually building our own LMS where we can track every student who goes through our course's performance and tying all that back into a big data platform so we can actually start diving into it and saying, okay, as you're going through the course, my grand vision in the next couple of years is that you would be able to start my course, and when you take it, the first thing we're going to do is give you a bunch of questions. And based on your questions, we're going to craft the course for you and add or remove lessons to the course. Because if Joe has already been working in IT for 5 years, and now he just needs to get CAS Plus certified, for instance, he doesn't need 35 hours. He might need 5 or 10 hours, but it's the right 5 or 10 hours. And I can't tell him that individually. But using an AI, we should be able to figure that out based on big data. And that is why data analytics is such a big deal, because it would be able to go through and figure out based on the thousands of students who take my courses and the thousands of students who take their exams, I'll know which ones passed, which ones failed, where did they struggle, where did they do well. And we can start building courses based on that and making it individualized to each and every individual student. And that requires somebody who is a data analyst and a data analytics person. And so that is a really big field that I'm seeing a big growth in. AI and machine learning, also huge field right now and continuing to grow. I'm not sold on the metaverse. I know a lot of people are into the metaverse right now, and they think that's where the next thing is going to be for career and specialists. Obviously, Mark Zuckerberg thinks it is. He's betting big on the future for his company. I am not sold yet. I will tell you, my chief technology officer, he thinks that VR and the metaverse is going to be the thing and wants me to start moving in that direction. So we will probably have some stuff going that way in the next 2 to 5 years. But it's not my number one priority. I am personally a much bigger fan of data analytics, machine learning, AI. I think that's all going to be where things are continuing to move into. And then the other thing that you're going to see a lot of things is automation. Anything that can be automated, whether in businesses or in systems. Just think about Tesla, right? If you drive a Tesla, you turn that thing on and it drives you around town, right? It can, if you have full self-driving, if you have a good enough score when driving, Tamara.
You drive it more than I do.
Yeah, I drive in Puerto Rico though. That's the problem. Yeah. So I mean, but Teslas now have the ability where you could turn it on and it will drive you through the city streets, right? And that all requires programmers, automation, sensor data, and all of that is another field that is really going to be big. And all of that also needs security. So it's not that you need to be an expert in any of these, in all of these things, but you need to figure out what it is that really drives your passion. So yeah, and then.
Oh, this is just the live chat
Oh.
now. It's not my favorite ones anymore.
Oh, okay, cool. I just started seeing things popping up. So yeah, VR has been the next big thing since the 90s. You're right. So I had my first VR machine, going back. If anybody remember Virtual Boy by Nintendo, they've been big on that. They lost. It was basically Game Boy technology with goggles. And you had these goggles, and they were so heavy, they had their own stand. So when you were playing it, it was like this, and you had the controller here. And so you'd be like, okay, I'm playing. And you couldn't play for more than about 15 minutes, or your eyes would just hurt so bad because the screens were so bad back then, right? So, yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'll address Mark in a second. Here you go, Mark. Yeah. But yeah, so that was the big thing, right? And you had the glove, right? There was another game controller glove they had, also from Nintendo. I had that as well. I love that. But none of that stuff really stuck around, and I still don't think we're there. I have an Oculus. I like to play it sometimes, but after about 15, 20 minutes, I'm done. I don't need to be in the VR world. I'd rather sit and play on my PlayStation on a 75-inch TV, right? Or my laptop or something like that. So I think those things are, the whole idea of this metaverse and everyone's going to be in VR goggles all day, I just don't buy it, right? Yeah, Jeff, I'm 42, so I'm only a couple years older than you, but I had one. I actually got it on eBay about 5 years later for about 10 or 15 bucks because when they came out, I couldn't afford one, but I was like 18, 19 years old and found one on eBay, so I loved it. So, yeah, so let's see. Kevin, I'll answer your question once you pop it in there. I'm just going to say hi to Mark because, hey, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
I haven't seen Mark in a while.
What are you doing?
Mark's my buddy. I used to work with him up in Maryland, and he used to give me crap all the time. And if y'all want anyone, if you want anyone to blame for the fact that Dion training even exists, Mark is the person to blame. I had never even heard about Udemy, and I started making some videos on YouTube. And Mark's like, hey, why don't you put your videos on Udemy instead of putting them on YouTube? And you could actually add quizzes and stuff and make it really cool. And I did, and it just kind of took off and then turned into this whole company. And now we have 14 people all over the world serving all of you. And it's all Mark's fault.
It's all Mark's fault.
Thanks, Mark. It's your
Mark.
fault. Yeah. So yeah, I blame Mark. But yeah, as far as NFTs, no, I'm not selling NFTs. I mean, I don't think anybody really wants a picture of my smiling face. It still blows my mind that you all listen to me talk for 40 hours at a time to watch these courses. So
I tune them out.
Yeah, I as I tell my video editor, Linda, who's in San Juan, I tell her all the time, I feel really bad for you because you've got to listen to me 40 hours a day. So the question was Network Plus. So, sorry.
Austin, what comes in it?
Yeah, so for Network Plus, there are, as I said, there's two versions, right? There's the Udemy version and the Dion training version. The low-cost version is Udemy. On Udemy, you're going to want to buy two different things, though. There's the video course and the practice exam course. I think right now they're around 10 to 20 bucks each. So to get both of them, it would cost you, 20, 30 bucks. To get those, go to diontraining.com/Udemy. And you'll see all of our courses there, and you'll see the two Network Plus courses. I would recommend getting 008, which is the new version. The old version, 007, excuse me, 007, we still do sell because we have some students who are in college classes that need it and want it. But I personally would not take the 007 exam if you haven't already been studying. This will be my last question. I'm going to talk about that in a second, of why you want to take the newer versions. Because that's a question that always comes up, and nobody asked that today. So, yeah. So that's one version, and like I said, it's the low-cost version. It's about 30 bucks. It comes with all the videos. It comes with the study guide, and then the separate one with that, if you buy both of them, is the 6 extra practice exams. So that'll give you 7 practice exams, 90 questions each, lots of practice, all that good stuff. That'll get you through Network Plus. And then when you're ready for your voucher, come over to diontraining.com/vouchers and get 10% off your voucher. If you're in the U.S. or Europe, we carry vouchers for those. The other option is the premium version, which is the one on Dion Training. If you go to Dion Training/courses, you'll see that one. We only sell I think we only sell 008 now. I think I turned off 007. And that does come with all the videos and practice exams from Udemy, but it also comes with your a digital textbook, the official CompTIA textbook, that's $179 value. It comes with the labs, which is $179 or $199 value on CompTIA. It's the official CompTIA Cert Master Plus labs that really helps you learn how to do networking. You'll log into routers, you'll be configuring them, and you'll get to play with the stuff as much as you want. And then it also comes with the free retake under the 100% pass guarantee if you buy the course, complete the course, and take the exam within 60 days. Because the reason we have the 60 days there is because I know that students who do it in 60 days pass at a really, really high percent. Those who wait 10, 11, 12 months, they don't do so hot. Because what happens is if you can do these short bursts of focus, you can get through any of these certifications. Because it really is a matter of throwing in as much content into your head as possible and then regurgitating it for the exam. If you do this over 6 months, by the time you're ready to take the exam, you forgot what you learned 6 months ago. The second part of that I wanted to just point out, NFTs are pointless. I totally agree, Brandon. I don't get that. Yeah, Mark, you should have asked for equity. Yeah, and as far as the cost, going off the top of my head, I think it's $299 for Network Plus. I think it's $299 for Network Plus on our site. And I think Security Plus is $349. CISA and Pentest are $349.
Network Plus is $299.
And CASP is $399. They go a little bit higher on the higher ones. But yes, so yeah, Network Plus is the least expensive one. It's $299 on our site. And then as far as why should you take new or old when a new certification comes out? Because you'll see this all the time. CompTIA does a 6-month overlap when they put out a new exam. So for instance, A Plus is coming out soon, or I'll use Network Plus, that's a great example. October, Network Plus came out, version 8. Version 7, they still allow people to take until June. So there's a 6-month overlap or so, 6 to 9 months. And during that time, it's so that if you're already studying, maybe you already bought my course and you're halfway through it, you'd have time to finish it and then go take the exam. That's the point of why they have the overlaps. But when the new one comes out, you want to take the new one. And the reason is the way these exams are built. CompTIA gets all the experts together in a room and they write up about 2,000 questions, okay? They put all the questions into a test bank at the beginning of the cycle. And as people start taking them, they grab questions randomly and put those into Pearson VUE system and you take the exam. As people start getting all the questions 100% right or 100% wrong, those questions are marked either too good or too bad. So the too good ones get thrown out because they're too easy. The too bad ones get thrown out because they are too hard, right? Or they're written badly. And they get put into a separate bank. And they keep doing this throughout the cycle. So every 2 to 3 months, they're changing out the exam questions you get to prevent people, again, this goes back to bad actors, people putting brain dumps online. Because they don't want everybody to see the questions and then just pass the exam. So they constantly are rotating out the questions. The problem is by the time they get to the end of the cycle and they're putting out the new exam, the old exam only has questions that everybody's seen. So what do to make it harder and bring those pass rates down? Well, they add in some of those ones that everyone was getting wrong. And so now what I find is the last 3 to 6 months of an exam, when it's in that overlap window, tends to be the hardest because the questions are more confusing, the way they word them are bad, they're questions everyone was getting wrong before, and that's why they threw them back in. Because with all these exams, they know how many people they want to pass. There's a pass rate that they have set. There's a bar. And if they say for Network Plus, for instance, I think it's like, they don't tell us, but I'm going to guess 70%, right? We want 7 out of 10 people who take this exam to pass on the first time, and we want 3 people to fail. And if we get that ratio, that means we're at the right difficulty level. If we're having 50% of the people fail, that's too high. If we have 90% of the people pass, that's too high. And so they constantly are adjusting these exams to get it to that right level of 70, 75, 80%, whatever it is. And it's just a data metrics game for them. So yeah, Winnie Cooper. And then there was one that popped up.
Bo here, he wants to know if he's looking at getting his Network Plus by June.
Yes.
It's possible for that being his only certification to get a job.
Yes. So, realize what job you're going to get with Network Plus, right? With Network Plus, you're not going to get a cybersecurity job, but you would get a network technician job or a junior network engineer job. So, yes, you can get a job. And then also it depends on where you live and what's valuable in your area. So one of the things I always tell people, because I have a worldwide audience, I have people in 190 countries now, which still blows my mind, is that you need to go look in your area at what employers are asking for. So what I would do is go on to LinkedIn, Monster, Dice, ZipRecruiter, whatever your favorite site is, and type in the job you're thinking about. Network technician, network engineer, network administrator, something like that, because that's what relates to Network Plus. Once you do that, start looking through 3 or 4 or 5, maybe even 10 of these job postings. And in the bottom, they'll say recommendations and requirements. And if you see CCNA or you see Network Plus, you want to see Network Plus, right? And those are the jobs you'll be applying for. If they're only saying CCNA, then maybe Network Plus isn't for you if that's your dream job and you want to go get CCNA instead. Or if this keeps saying Security Plus, then you want Security Plus instead. But based on the job you want, you need to look at what the requirements are and then work towards those requirements. Network Plus is not asked for nearly as much as A Plus or Security Plus is. I'll be upfront and honest with you on that. I still think the information in Network Plus is completely 100% the most important thing for you to learn before you ever get into cybersecurity. I can do away with A Plus maybe and jump right into Network Plus, but I would not start with Security Plus without having the background in Network Plus. Now, whether or not you get the certification for it, that's up to you based on the jobs in your area and if they're asking for it. So that's one of the things I would think so. For CISP, yeah, definitely recommend thorteaches.com. He is awesome, and he's the guy. I don't teach CISP because it is so long and so big that it would take me a year to get through that. And that would be the equivalent of me being able to do 3 or 4 of the certifications that we do for CompTIA. And honestly, I'm at the point where what I teach now, the courses you see, is pretty much what I can handle. And as I said earlier, I just hired on another person that's starting in the end of April, and I'm training him up to be my mini-me, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Yeah, we think you'll really like him. He's got a great personality, great on-screen presence.
Yep.
He's fun.
Yeah, and the idea is that, you know, as we're bringing him on and we're looking to bring on 1 or 2 more like him, we'll be able to expand our offerings into other areas you've been asking us for. Things like cloud certifications, things like programming courses, things like more hands-on, like, hey, I want a course just on Nmap that's going to cover, 3 to 4 hours that just shows me everything I can do with this tool because it's so powerful. Or show me a Metasploit course that just goes into all the ways you can hack with Metasploit. I just don't have the time to do it because I'm so busy keeping up to date with just the ones I'm doing. So that's why we're bringing on additional instructors to help. And so hopefully you guys will support them and support us as we do that. I'll keep letting you know about them. And once they get on, I'll probably bring them in for some Ask Me Anything so you can pepper them with questions too.
Get to know them a little
It'll be
bit.
lots of fun. So I think that's it unless Tamara had anything else.
No.
Yeah, I like Murdoch's comment. I see this a lot, actually. It's like, hey, this exam's retiring. Maybe I should actually do it now. One of the things that blows my mind, this again goes back to Jason not wanting to be the guy who's just trying to sell you stuff, right? We have students who buy a course and then life gets busy and they don't take it, right? And I get that, right? But if you're buying something like our IDLE courses, they come with the exam voucher. You buy a CompTIA course, they come with the lab access. There's only 12 months of access. So if you buy it today and you don't plan on starting it for 6 months, don't buy it today. Wait 6 months and buy it then. We're still going to sell it 6 months from now, I promise you. But your clock starts when you buy it. And we have people all the time that come in and are like, hey, I bought this course 18 months ago. I'm ready to start it now. I'm like, what? No, it's expired already. We already paid for your lab. You never logged in, and we can't turn it on again.
It is a daily occurrence, and
yeah.
I will get people emailing in constantly. Can you extend my exam voucher? I'm like, it expired 2 months ago. I can't. I literally can't.
Yeah, there's no way to do that.
There's no way to do that. But people will tell you that we can when we cannot. We physically don't have a way. If it has not expired yet, we do have a way to extend it for 6 months once. For
IDLE and Prince 2, not for CompTIA. CompTIA doesn't allow any extensions. So just want to point that out. Manage your time. One of the things I really like to do when I take certifications, and this is what I've done my entire career, is I will take a week off of work and I will just make that my study week because you can pass any of these certifications in 40 hours of work. You can, any of them, right? I guarantee. If you do nothing but study for 40 hours, 8, 10 hours a day for 4 or 5 days, you'll be ready to take the test on Monday and pass. So that's my technique is big burst of energy, small time, and then I just go, okay, now it's time to play a video game, and I'm just going to break for 2 weeks, and then we go on again. So, yeah.
I hope you seem useful, but okay.
Yeah, might be useless too. I know I talk sometimes, so hopefully you enjoy. I mean, you stayed for almost 2 hours, so I'm guessing you meant useful, but maybe not. Anyway, hopefully that helps. And like I said, this was just kind of informal. We didn't really have an agenda as far as what we we're going to cover. If you want to learn all about resumes, please come back to youtube.com/yourcyberpath on the 22nd, which is Tuesday. Same bat time, same bat channel. It'll be 9 p.m. my time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And we're going to go through resumes and how you should write your resumes and how to make your bullets actionable based on the job posting so people actually like it. So please come see us, and hopefully we'll see you then. Thanks.
Bye, guys.